Alright, welcome back, and as we all know, version 2.4 has been released. Overall, I would say it's been really good. I have enjoyed it a lot. Performance-wise, I would say it's getting better and better. Last time in version 2.3 we have received Vulkan support, although, and we all know it's not official Vulkan support, but the developers have sneaked it in for us who test things out, I guess. Anyway, today I will show you the Vulkan performance and OpenGL performance of the game in 2.4. The test today will be done on the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which is currently the fastest smartphone chip that's been made. I'll be using the default configuration with OpenGL, then I will use the default configuration with Vulkan, and then I will use a custom configuration with significantly boosted and increased overall visuals, just to give you an overall experience of what you can expect with the game, with different configurations, with different setups and stuff like that. So here's the Vulkan BLK, well, the cache of it, which appears once you, I think in my case it appeared immediately after an update, but for other devices it appears after you enable the Vulkan through the device profile ini. Now I will delete the current device user profile, and I will delete the engine ini that I have, because they're significantly, well, changed. I guess they're custom. So in order to get the default ones back, all you need to do is just delete the device user profile and engine ini and restart the game, and the game will just apply the default ones by itself. Pretty easy to do, and overall there is no risk of breaking the game. Now let me find, where is the Vulkan. In order to enable the Vulkan, you need to write 3 lines, which I will actually I will just copy paste it, because I have like 7 different configurations saved on this device, and here you can see it's in Vulkan. Now in 2.3 you will see, in 2.4 actually, you will see that it does do this with the resolution for some reason. It's glitching, so I would say overall Vulkan support is better, and overall performance with Vulkan in 2.4 is better. A new bug crawled out. Basically, for some reason the resolution value on the monitor just goes in and out, which is pretty funny. Didn't happen before, that's new. But you will see something even more funny that happens once you turn on frame generation. And frame generation is quite an interesting thing, because in the last update in 2.3 frame generation did not work with Vulkan. Now it works. However, I will show you what you need to do in case you have graphical glitches in 2.4 with frame generation and Vulkan. And this is not a guarantee that will solve a flicker, by the way, because I still need to test out the same thing on my 8 Gen 2 and on my 870 device. Today I'll be testing out on the 8 Elite, because this is the fastest device they have currently. Okay, so let me go and let me find the actually, one second, Wuva configs, there it is. Now I have a bunch of them. I'll just use the one that I was using last time, which is this one. Now the thing that you need to put in is basically the first 3 lines that I'm selecting here. You need to copy this or write it inside of the device profile ini in the game files, in the game configuration, and you need to save it. You need to make sure that you don't make a typo. Everything needs to be correct in order to work. So you go here, you go to the device profile ini, and I'll just copy it, I'll just paste it here, and I'll just save. Also there it is. Now you can see this is what you need to put in the device profile. You need to enable Vulkan, you just save it, and you just relaunch the game, and the game should boot in Vulkan next time you open it. Okay, And just to verify, let's just go and open the game real quick. I also need to turn on the monitors, which is very important because monitors tell you what's happening, and it tells you Vulkan. There it is. So you're back on Vulkan. This is pretty much how you can turn it on, turn it off, depending on what you want. If your Vulkan performance is better, keep Vulkan. If OpenGL is better, keep OpenGL. I just keep Vulkan because it makes the temperatures go down significantly, and I prefer to have a lot less heat on my device, and Vulkan does a very good job with that. Okay, now let me just put my old configuration back. This is pretty much the intro. The test has already been recorded, so I'm just basically putting everything back to its place. I'm just putting everything back as I had it originally. I think I'm doing that actually. No, my apologies. I was lost for a second. The first thing that one of you guys actually told me last time, in order to get frame generation to work in Vulkan, if you have issues with Vulkan, if you have flicker, you can actually try to remove the thing that I'm about to copy inside. You keep the Android very high device profile, that stays. But the Android device profile, if you have issues with Vulkan, with flicker, try to remove the Android device profile, the first selected line in green. One of you guys actually helped me a lot with that last time, and once I did delete that, a lot of graphical issues in 2.3 went away. It wasn't perfect, but it can help if you have flicker with frame generation, or if you have flicker with Vulkan, and you just need to leave the device profile like this, as you can see, only with the very high configuration and with the 3 lines below it. That's a very funny thing that can solve a problem. I was surprised that it worked, but it can actually help in some occasions. Not guaranteed that it will help, but it can help in some certain occasions. It helped me last time, that's why I'm mentioning it. So let me just put back everything in its place. Yeah, this was the this is the device profile that I had last time, and as you can see in the primary device profile that I'm using, I don't have the Android profile thing at first. I removed it because, again, one of you guys helped me a lot with that last time, and I decided to I just decided to keep it that way because it seems that it can remove some bugs. And I just let me return the engine ini as well, because the device user profile will not work properly without the engine ini, or in other words, the game will not boot if you don't use both. Okay, at least for the current configurations that I have, if you don't use one, the game is not going to launch for some reason, although understandable. I think I know the reason why it doesn't want to boot, but in any case, this is usually what you will see on the screen here. Monitor apps, you will see the frequency, you will see the GPU frequency, the CPU frequency, the CPU temperature, GPU temperature. We will see all the important things that are very important and crucial for tests, and I wish more tests include a lot of different stuff that I have here, because this is as accurate as it can get. You get the exact frequency, you get the temperature, exact everything, internal temperature and all that, and everything is set up. Camera seems, I think you guys can see what's happening on the screen here. So first thing I noticed after swapping back to OpenGL, you might encounter the shader compiling. It's normal. Sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. If you change the API, it might compile shaders, so that's one thing to consider and expect. If you swap to Vulkan, or if you swap from Vulkan back to OpenGL, the shader compiling can happen. Now, overall, the performance, it's an 8 Elite. 8 Elite just runs the game like a dream, honestly. 60 FPS on the 8 Elite is not a big deal at all. This chipset and this overall hardware on this device, is overkill for this game, but it's nonetheless still interesting to see how it will handle the game on 60 FPS. And I can tell you right away, it doesn't matter what area, doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter what type of combat is going on the screen. On 60 FPS you will get minimal heat, very minimal heat. Using a cooler, using what I have, the ice block and stuff, is overkill for 60 FPS. It doesn't get warm at all while running the game on 60 FPS, and admittedly 60 FPS on default configuration is not that hard for the 8 Elite. It can run the game all day long and it's not going to break a sweat. But nonetheless, we will still test out 60, 120 FPS and frame generation, obviously, just to give you guys an example, overall visual example of how it will run and how it will behave on different APIs and in different occasions. So, CPU temperature 44 degrees Celsius, GPU is 36, and all the settings are on maximum. Again, default configuration, what comes out of the box, the game default configuration, not customized, not custom. OpenGL is the API. The resolution 1080p. FPS is 60, flatline 60. Now 380 MHz on the 8 Elite is like the second speed, I would say, second or third speed, low speed still. And total maximum frequency on the 8 Elite is 1200 MHz on this particular 8 Elite, because this is the overclocked 8 Elite. The 8 Elite leading version, or 8 Elite for Galaxy, has like 50 different names, but it's one and the same chip, or overclocked 8 Elite. Overall, does use a total of about 20% of the GPU just to get 60 FPS, which is not a big number, and that's why it's so cold. The CPU is also chilling, it's not in full speed. The overall total CPU frequency is 4.47, which is scary big number. But the overall CPU utilization in this game isn't really too high on the 8 Elite. It runs from like 20 to 30%, 20-30% CPU utilization usually, which is, I would say, a decent number. Not too high, not too low. On the other chipsets though, on the 8 Gen 2, it's a lot higher, 50% on average, which is to be expected. This is a much more powerful CPU than the 8 Elite. But yeah, as we have already guessed, the overall FPS is super stable. Our temperatures are not that high, about 49-50 degrees Celsius, which honestly is laughable temperature. And this is the new area as well. The new area has increased overall textures. I would say they have increased the visuals. The game looks better now than it used to look. The grass is improved. I need to check out the other maps as well, just to verify that. But overall, the game looks much better now than it used to in 2.4, with minimal impact on performance, which is a good thing. Glad that Kuro actually is taking good care of the performance, unlike a certain other game that will not be mentioned in this video. We all know that other game's name, not gonna mention it though. We all know that other game, we sure do. But yeah, so far, flatlining 60 FPS. Now you might see occasional 57, 55, that's normal. I have set the refresh on the FPS monitor to be very high, and that's why it might go up and down, which is normal. That's just how rendering works. So overall it is 60 FPS, but it can show 59, but overall total value is still 60. That's because of the update of the refresh that I have set in, that I've put into the into the monitor. You can customize the interval of refresh, which is very interesting. Now let's do some combat. Let's see how it will handle combat. I can tell you right away. I mean, if it didn't really break a sweat before, it's not gonna break a sweat now. Very smooth, extremely smooth. The overall GPU frequency is roughly the same. The CPU frequencies did go up a little bit, but it's around the same. It doesn't really go up too much. It stays roughly the same, I would say. And the temperatures are 50, 49, 50, which, by the way, just for comparison, you might be thinking, okay, 50 is a lot. Not really. The T max temperature on the 8 Elite is around 100 to 105. Now, some 8 Elite chips or certain other, some other chips, some other devices with the 8 Elite have the temperature set at 105. The S25 seems to have the temperature at around 100, but the overall 8 Elite maximum tolerable temperature, sustainable temperature, is 105 degrees Celsius, which means that I can heat this thing up double. I can add another 50 degrees Celsius, which we will do later, by the way, and the chip will still go full speed, full power. So these things are tolerable to high temperature. It's not like 5 or 6 years ago when 70, 75 was like the peak temperature. Oh no, now things changed and the technology advancing. The chips are seemingly becoming a lot more tolerable to high temperatures, which is interesting the way technology progresses. But in my case, in my taste, even though it can't take those temperatures, I still prefer and I will still recommend that those temperatures, to keep them down, because seeing boiling temperature on your CPU isn't something I pretty much enjoy, unless it's winter, of course. But yeah, if I can get the temperatures down, I get the temperatures down. It's just a natural thing to do. Okay. Now we have enabled frame generation, and now we will see increase in temperature, expectable, obviously. Now we are at 63, 60, 59, 66, 70 degrees Celsius temperature. The total CPU usage did slightly increase. The GPU usage definitely increased. The GPU is now around 50%, which is kind of scary to think about, because if we had, let's say, an option for 240 FPS, I would be getting 240 FPS on the 8 Elite. Again, because if you look at the frequency, it's at 750, 830, 900 in some cases, but on average, it's around 670. 600 MHz, which is roughly nearing the 50% mark of total load on the GPU. So we can push it even harder, which we will do later with a custom configuration. Even the custom configuration is unable to max out the GPU on this thing, so that's kind of a scary thing to think about. But yeah, if we had uncap option, we would be getting 240 FPS on the 8 Elite without much of a problem. And speaking of FPS, rock solid 120. Now this is, this is scary. This is pretty much when I realized, oh, I actually have a very scary phone here, because PCs in some cases struggle to hit this FPS. Meanwhile, you have this FPS on a phone. These things have definitely progressed a lot in the recent years. That's a fact. But yeah, temperature 69, 70, definitely going up. Definitely temperatures are rising. We also have the more accurate GPU temperature there, 66, 70, 76, 78, 71. It's going up and down, but FPS is staying the same. This was just amazing performance, and we will be playing 120 FPS a little bit now, just because this game just looks so damn good on this FPS. It's so smooth. I said that last time. It took Kuro less than a year, or more around a year actually, but I would say less than a year, slightly less than a year, to get 120 FPS on Android. Meanwhile, a certain other game that we all know what game it is, but we shall not name it, still has only 60 on Android, and you can get 120 without using AI interpolation, which is AI interpolation is much worse than the current interpolation that you have here, because this is actual frame generation with the hardware. The AI interpolation that we see on the other game is pretty much done via software, which does create a lot more glitches, a lot more artifacts, and it does create a lot more visual bugs. Over here, I don't really see any visual bug on 120. I would say this is pretty much close to what you would expect from native 120 FPS. Very little difference, I would say. They've done an amazing job with the AMFE 2.0 on this device. It just works really well, insanely well works actually. But yeah, I mean, the thermals are still very decent, and you might wonder, okay, it's not 50, it's 78, 70, 79, it's getting warm. But again, a maximum tolerable temperature, sustainable temperature, 100 to 105. We are still way off that number, so this temperature is no big issue for the 8 Elite. And also, it does go up and down actually, so it's good. The cooling does its job. This is so damn smooth actually. The Carthetia plays so damn good. This is one of my favorite characters. I'll definitely have to somehow max her out as quickly as I can. I'll have to wait for the next week because I ran out of the level. I need to actually level her up, max her out, because it's worth it. It's such a good character. Okay, well, I don't think I need to mention anything about the frame rate. It's just perfect. Yes. The 120 FPS, and this is something that makes me very funny with Vulkan later on. 120 with Vulkan is actually much better and smoother, and you know, you will see what I'm talking about very soon. But we will still walk around. Let's just do some open world running. I want to just show you the normal temperatures of the 8 Elite, because I know I've been cooling it here, but eventually it will get to the optimal temperatures, and you should not be. Obviously, you should try to get the temperatures down. I mean, but don't be scared of the temperatures, because the chip apparently is made to handle them. From what I've read or heard, I wouldn't still trust it though. I wouldn't trust it. Heat and CPUs don't like each other in any case. So if you can get the temperatures down, get the temperatures down. The smartphone coolers are actually decent. The valid ones are decent that I use, for example. And I use an ice block to improve the cooling even more. But yeah, open world, running away. From what am I running away from? Anyway, open world, running around, and yeah, we still get flatline 120 FPS, which is perfect. This is the new area with the increased grass. You will see the grass even more boosted with the custom configuration later on. But I have to admit, I love the terrain in this map. It just looks insanely well. Insanely well done. Insanely well done. They really put, and this is not even like the whole map. There is part 2 of the story coming, which should unlock us a underwater part of the map that I can't wait to explore. But yeah, if you want, yeah, this is running on a phone, by the way. This is not a PC. This is recorded on the phone itself. I know last time someone complained, "Oh, you're playing on a PC." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. It might look like PC. Trust me, it's not. There's some differences with the PC version, which are minor differences, but there are differences. I just wish that they add more stuff, because obviously these things can handle more. Then I threw a lot more to it later, and it wasn't able to max it out. So if Kuro decides to just launch the whole game on mobile, the PC game on with the PC assets, by the way, it will work just fine. I'm not really sure why they haven't done that. Now I think the main reason why they haven't done that is storage. I think it's storage. I personally believe it's storage, because the game is quite large on PC. It will be also large on mobile, but I personally feel like it's storage the main issue, because I have no issues. I mean, the FPS will tell the story for itself. I mean, and later you will see when I pretty much triple the load on the hardware, it still gets 120 FPS. So 3 times the resolution, 3 times 1080p resolution later on with the custom configuration, and still we're getting 120 FPS. So performance isn't a problem. I think it's something else in this case, but more on that a little bit later when we get to that point. But yeah, I'm purposefully trying to get the temperatures up just to show you that it will still hold 120 FPS even while running really warm. But yeah, overall, this is what you can expect from the 8 Elite, by the way. Most powerful smartphone GPU, and overall in general most powerful smartphone chip at the moment. A chip that personally surprised me last time because I was convinced that I am not going to see much of an improvement. I was convinced that I will see only a 32% increase in performance from the 8 Gen 2. Oh, was I wrong? Oh, the performance increase is 3 times minimum now. If the 8 Gen 2 runs at 50, 60, this thing can go much higher than that. If I had 240, I would get 240 with ease. But in any case, I'm getting carried away. Overall, FPS problems. I'm not saying that the game doesn't have issues. We have to remain, vigilant. We have to remain critical. Obviously, we can't just do the same thing that the other game that shall not be named has done, and completely ignores, player feedback. We must not let that happen with Wuthering Waves. Our feedback must be heard. And so far the community, for the most part, has provided some very useful feedback, and together we actually managed to do something right with the game. I mean, Vulkan support exists in Wuthering Waves now. Performance is getting better and better, visuals are getting better and better, lag is getting less and less, although obviously lag on PC, I'm well aware that 2.4 was laggy on PC for some reason. I think Kuro fixed that. This is why I'm saying it's important to give feedback, because critical issues like that, small issues, actually my apologies, small issues like that can quickly progress into big issues if they're not corrected on time. And so far, I would say Kuro has done a good job on that aspect, on that front. And again, I would actually thank the players a lot more, because players have been giving feedback. 50%, I would say 60% of the problem is solved once players start to give feedback. 40% is on the developers to actually implement the necessary changes. And this game is kind of the perfect example of that. I mean, compare 1.0 to 2.4. It's a huge difference. Honestly, huge difference. Anyway, okay, that was OpenGL. We have played around with 60, 120 FPS, complaints absolute 0. That was some scary, rock solid 120 FPS. Now, let's go and let's add some good old Vulkan support, just to give you guys an example of what you can expect from Vulkan. Now, I'll say this right away. The difference in Vulkan now and before, I would say that the FPS is a bit more stable. Temperatures are phenomenal. The difference between OpenGL temperatures and Vulkan temperatures are night and day. OpenGL temperatures are significantly higher, up to 20 to 40 degrees higher on OpenGL than on Vulkan, which is a huge difference. Means that you get a lot less heating on Vulkan, which is something that we all kind of are looking for. I mean, I know I'm looking for that. I look for performance and less heat, which is what Vulkan offers. But on the 8 Elite, you will still encounter the weird like 51, 45 FPS, 49 FPS cap limit. This is something that was present before, something that was in 2.3. It is still here in 2.4, and the resolution flicker. Now the resolution itself is not flickering, but the resolution on the monitor is flickering due to unknown reasons. I would say that's probably because of the Vulkan driver. Again, Vulkan is officially not in the game, and that means that you can't change into Vulkan without going into the device user profile and writing the commands in yourself. And the reason for that is because Vulkan is still not ready. It is better now than before. Before I actually recorded this video, the Vulkan frame generation flicker was present in 2.4, but after an update, after 152 megabyte update, that problem was gone. So that issue with Vulkan should be fixed. Now I can't confirm completely, but on the 8 Elite, from what I have seen, the Vulkan flicker with frame generation is gone after that update. So one issue with Vulkan on the 8 Elite or on this driver that I'm using currently has been solved, has been fixed with an update in 2.4. That's basically what I've been saying about the resolution flicker. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, if you watched the last video, you know that the screen was flashing basically if you were to turn on frame generation with Vulkan. So overall performance a little bit better, a little bit more stable, although some new bugs have occurred. However, the bug is not going to be noticeable by the vast majority because most of you guys will not monitor FPS and most of you guys will not have these windows up. But have you noticed something though? The resolution flicker vanished. Now watch what happens when I turn off frame generation. Watch what happens with the resolution flicker. Oh, it's back. Actually, wait a second. It's not back. Okay. Alrighty then. That's weird. So sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't, which is funny. But yeah, frame generation on Vulkan works. You can get 120 FPS on Vulkan, and you can get all the benefits of Vulkan just fine. Now, important thing to note: you might be seeing the frame rate go to 100 and back to 120. Since you have to consider the fact that frame generation, the AFME is basically doubling FPS. That's what it does, it doubles FPS basically. If the original FPS is 51, your frame generated FPS will be 102, 100. So the weird FPS lock on the 8th Elite is still present. It still goes up to 60, but it goes back to 50. It goes 50, 60, 50, 60, 56, sometimes 40, 45, 49. That's a weird glitch within. It's behaving better now than before, but it's still there, it's still present. So that's one thing to consider. But if you have frame generation on, your FPS will be above 60. In all the cases, it will be above 100 FPS in any way, shape or form. So it is still going to feel like 120 in either way. It's not a big deal at the end of the day. And obviously heating is much less now with Vulkan, even on 120 FPS, which is what we all have been looking forward to. So I'm again glad to announce and glad to say Kuro done it again. They improved Vulkan a little bit. It's still not perfect, but at least you can use frame generation properly now, at least in this case, and you can play the game with all the Vulkan benefits, with less heat, with improved performance. A lot of you guys have told me that Vulkan has helped you. I'm very glad that Vulkan did help you. Very glad that I was able to help a little bit in doing these tests, so that I can just show you what you can do in order to help solve any issues that you might encounter while playing the game. Or in other words, my goal is to improve performance, and so far I think I would say collectively as a community we've done a good job with that, with feedback primarily, and Kuro with listening. Well, we are getting some good FPS again. The FPS dips are due to software issues Again, Vulkan is still experimental, early stages. From what I have been told, Vulkan should be ready, officially ready and officially released into the game, into the settings, so you can enable it in 2.6 or from 2. Actually no, from 2.6 to 2.8. There's a high chance that we might actually see. That's my let me correct myself. My estimate is based on what I'm seeing here. We will see Vulkan officially supported in from 2.5 to 2.6, 7 or 8. That's my estimate when we might see the Vulkan option appearing in the game settings. You know, a proper way to turn it on without having to go into the device profile. You need to put the commands in to change it to Vulkan. But yeah, this is what happens when you put back 60. Well, this is what happens when you actually turn off frame generation. For some reason the resolution just keeps flickering, and the FPS is accurate, but you see these weird. I don't know. I can't really explain what's happening here. This is a very weird bug that happened in 2.4. You don't really feel it while playing because the rendering is fine. It does render the frame rate you see there. But when you try to monitor it, for some weird reason it just glitches out. This is pretty funny. I've never seen this before. This is a new encounter for me, and I've been testing out games for a very long time. And yeah, this is the weird thing. It's playable though, smooth, but for some odd reason it just does that, and I don't mind it because I can still continue the test with 60 FPS just fine. But it's just something funny to mention. And now FPS back to 60. So overall, it does, you know, the weird lock is there. Let me just go back to frame generation, just to show you that when you turn this on, there's no problem anymore. Back to 120, just like that. This is funny. So literally, the game behaves better at 120 than on 60. Like, this is some, you know, coding and software is magic. Well, it's not magic, but you know what I'm talking about here. Weird bugs like that exist. The weird bugs like that do exist. I don't complain though. I mean, 120 FPS rock solid with Vulkan. It's acceptable. And the moment frame generation takes its effect off, it goes back to doing the weird thing. This is so funny and weird at the same time, because you would actually expect 120 FPS to give issues. Well, now it's 60 FPS giving issues with Vulkan. Oh, yeah, this is why I love testing things out, because you find stuff like this, and by giving feedback, I'm fairly sure Kuro will solve this in the next version, or when they have time to do it. It's pretty much like, you know what I have a feeling at the moment. I feel like they have seen the Vulkan performance being odd in frame generation, so they focused on that, right? They solved the frame generation of Vulkan performance, which they did. But while solving the frame generation issue, they might have caused a new issue to pop out with the 60 FPS option with the rendering. Although I wouldn't exactly call it an issue, because if I didn't have the FPS monitor I wouldn't notice it, but still, I feel like there's a little bug there as well. Overall, I think it's safe to say that Kuro has seen the bug in Vulkan with frame generation on last time with the flickering and stuff, and they solved it. Again, a huge thumbs up from me to Kuro for actually solving something that most players haven't seen. That is dedication, and that's just more respect that they earn from me. I'm so glad that I found Great Haven in 2018. That game opened my eyes to actually good quality that's possible on the mobile platform. And I'm glad that I'm still with Kuro. they're doing a fantastic job with this game. I'm impressed. Okay, well, let's run around in open world now. In open world, still a perfect FPS. Temperatures are lower. Now, in this case, the difference in temperatures between OpenGL 60 and Vulkan 60 is much greater than the temperature difference between Vulkan 120 and OpenGL 100. Now, on 120 FPS, the total difference in temperature is around 10, 20, 15 on average. 15 average degrees Celsius is average, I would say, which is still amazing difference, huge difference. 20 to 15 less heat on 120 FPS with Vulkan than on OpenGL. On 60 FPS, you get 40 to 50 degrees Celsius less heat on Vulkan than on OpenGL. Understandable, because on 120 FPS, your hardware will definitely will draw more power, will produce more heat, and in total, in general, at the end of the day, it will produce heat, but less heat than it would do on OpenGL, because of the phenomenal multi-threading, phenomenal multi-core support, and overall the way the GPU handles the game is much better on Vulkan than on OpenGL, which we see on this little test. I'm pretty happy with the heat output. Definitely much better than on OpenGL when it comes to the overall heating. Much less heat means overall better CPU health, and overall longer battery life, and overall less headaches. Less headaches of the player worrying about the phone getting warm. However, I would still recommend that you have some form of cooling on your device. I recommend cooling on all devices. Doesn't matter if it gets warm or not, or if it's cold. Just make your phone's life easier by having some form of cooling, just to help it with handling the heat. Because at the end of the day, less heat, longer life. Simple as that with phones with these chips. Okay, let's do some boss battles. This is going to be pretty funny. I mean, I actually, if I were to, let's say, use the default configuration, which by the way, I use a custom configuration because I just love the visuals of the game, and I just love to have a crystal clear visual experience with the game, and I like to have the closest possible experience to PC, which actually you can do with the custom configuration files, as you will see later on with the video. If the camera can actually portray the visuals, as I'll try to make sure that there is a difference, but for the best experience I have to record the screen, which would definitely have an impact on the overall result because it will produce more heat. Anyway, speaking about the heat, well, we're having 120 FPS, and our temperatures are about 65, which equals the temperatures of OpenGL in 60 now, which is pretty funny. So in some aspects, in some areas, you can actually expect the overall temperature reduction to be over half. That's very good. Obviously, this is with cooling, and all the tests are done with cooling, because that way we can see the actual difference in the total heat at the end. But yeah, I'm very happy with the results so far. I'm very happy with the results so far. This is some very good improvement over the last version. I can tell you, I've seen a lot more improvement. That one little update that they've done like a couple days ago I just play around with it, and I see what works and what doesn't work. Basically, trying to add as much stuff as I can. Some of the things that are here don't work, but I just keep them there for the future because they will work in the future. But overall, there's a lot of things there that you can do with, and Unreal Engine, as much as it has problems, we all know Unreal Engine has problems. This is the thing that I love about it, because you can just make the game look nice if you want to, obviously. If you're not happy about the visuals, well, you can enhance them. Not a big problem. All works, and works really well, and it's pretty straightforward. The whole process is pretty interesting how it works, actually. But let's test out performance on the custom configuration. Now, the current resolution boost is 3x or 3 times or 300%. Now, default screen resolution on this device is 1080p. 3 times 1080p is let me just quickly do the math because my brain is not working currently. 1080p, if we triple it, 3240p. That's pretty much it should be the rendered resolution of this game at the moment, because we have shown last time that your values that you put there actually work and take impact on the game. You can change the resolution that way. You can scale up, scale down, and there should be no limit. Technically should be no limit. But we are running the game at 120 FPS, and the overall resolution supposedly 3240p, which is pretty high. Now, see the reflections, they look pretty nice. I haven't really paid much attention to the reflections in the default configuration, but I think the reflections should be much better now, and the overall visuals and ambience, as well as the colors and stuff like that, should be much nicer now. Now, to me, because I'm looking at the phone in real life, it's actually a huge difference. I don't know if you guys can tell the difference through the camera. I'm trying to make the difference noticeable. The GPU is now at 960, so it's still not maxed out, and we are getting a scary number on the FPS, still 120 FPS. And this is, this is kind of pushing the device a little bit. Now we're pushing it just a little bit. 60% GPU usage is still getting 120 FPS. Scary. But when we disable frame generation, the resolution flicker is there, but the temperatures are also a little bit lower. But the temperatures are actually in the 80s now, which is expected, only to be expected. I mean, I've been playing the game non-stop for like an hour now, and I've been playing with all sorts of different things. Natural to be warm, natural for the phone to be warm, but we are still below 100 degrees Celsius, which is, means that we are still not throttling. It's important. No throttle means you get full performance. Okay, let's not go there. Nope, let's just not go there. I don't know what's waiting for me at the bottom of that hole. But yeah, overall, definitely looks much nicer. So let's go back and turn on frame generation. There we go. Just like that, 120. It doesn't it just goes up like no big deal at all. Super smooth. But we will definitely hit throttling very soon. Look at the grass though. The grass looks very nice as well. And yeah, 96, 99, and we hit throttling. There it is. That's okay though. 100 FPS with throttling, I'll take it. I'm not gonna complain about that. 90 FPS with throttling. And it's back at 120, just like that. Yeah. See, just fine at 90, 101. There it is. This is what I was talking about before. And am I worried? No. Do I like to see those numbers? No. Nope. But it's fine though. Usually when I play on the current settings, I just play on 60 because honestly It's smooth enough for me with the visual clarity that I see within the game. 60 FPS is the sweet spot on 3x on 3 times 1080p resolution on this device, because it still gets like barely any heat on 60 FPS. Well, I mean, when it wants to go to 60 FPS, when the bug, there it is, 60, that's right, and goes back to 51. This is weird. This is a very weird, but I'm not mad, obviously. I'm actually more than happy to see Vulkan support. I'm still very happy to see Vulkan support in the game, because again, the other games to this day, 6 years, soon to be 6 years, has no sight of Vulkan, while this game, a year old now, has decent Vulkan support, I would say. But obviously, I'll have to test the same thing out on the 8 Gen 2 and on the 870. And I might test the game out on a G90T as well, old chipset, just for fun. But I still have to do a lot of testing, which I will do, not a big deal. But yeah, we are nearing the end of the video. My initial overall performance, let's say, feedback would be overall good. The improvements are there. The improvements seem to be noticeable. And again, your feedback is also important to me as well. You guys tell me how the game works for you, how the game runs for you after 2.4, and tell me if you enable Vulkan support, if you enabled Vulkan on your game, on your phone, how it runs. Do you have any bugs? Because again, feedback and all that is important, and together as a community, if we deliver feedback, we can definitely make the game. And as we have already seen, we made the game alongside with the developers. Obviously, I mean, they code, so you know, we give feedback, they code, they make it happen. So it's kind of a symbiotic thing, where both of us, basically the community and the developer, makes the game fun and good. And so far, I would say we've done a good job with that. But my experience would be good job so far. There's bugs with the FPS. There's nothing serious, but it's a bug. It can be annoying for some people, I guess. And the weird flicker with the resolution there, and with the FPS monitor. I don't know what happens. I suspect the drivers, something with the drivers. But overall, Vulkan works good, better than before. OpenGL works good. I would say OpenGL also works better than before. And overall, for me, this is so far a very good experience, and I'm definitely going to be testing this out on other devices just to have a more complete picture of what's happening. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.